Let's go, everybody. Welcome back to a very special episode of the LA Poker Roundup. It is March 12th. It is my birthday, it so happens, 2024, and this is episode 27, and we have with us a very, very, very special guest, Mr. Matt Savage. Now, for those of you who do not know Matt, I don't know why you're watching our show, but for those of you who don't know and for those who need a refresher, Matt is the executive tour director for the WPT. He's also one of the three founding members and, as far as I know, the most public face of the Tournament Directors Association, more commonly known as the TDA, which, personally, I am a huge board gaming rules nerd if you haven't figured that out yet. So this is an organization I personally hold in very high esteem. If you didn't know, he was the tournament director at the World Series of Poker during the moneymaker poker boom. So I was just watching all of those ESPN reruns on Poker Go. I've been seeing Matt calling out on the mic. So he's been through it all, man. And he was the inaugural inductee into the Poker Room Managers Hall of Fame. He's been on the ballot pretty much every time I've ever seen for the Poker Hall of Fame. And of course, most importantly, he's very, very well known for his important role in everyone's favorite poker movie, Lucky You. I know I love that movie.
Absolutely.
I know that's what's paying the bills for real. That's why he gets to travel around and do this cushy WPT job, because of those residuals, right, Matt?
Absolutely.
All
Happy
right.
birthday, by the way.
Thank
Awesome.
you, and
Happy
welcome.
birthday, buddy.
Yep, thank you so much for joining us. All right, so I'm sorry, Derek. I kind of forgot to introduce you this week because of Matt, but as always, joined by our co-host Derek Kwan.
What's up, everyone?
All right. So as we were really excited to get Matt onto the show here because, as most of you should know, he has a very long history in LA. But I started playing tournament poker here in LA after you had left. So I'm kind of curious to get a little bit of your backstory, kind of hear about how did you end up in the poker industry? How did you end up over on the floor and over on the director side?
I've been in this industry for about 30 years now, just over 30 years.
Wow.
And I started off as a chip runner. They used to have people that would walk around the room in Northern California at the Garden City Casino, and they would sell chips to the players that were playing poker. That's kind of how I got into it. And the only reason I did is because I was playing at the time, and I saw that the people that were working there were making a lot more money than I was making as a service technician for an alarm company. So I ended up going there. And I always say I got this job because I was a bad poker player, but it really was because they were making more money, and I saw an opportunity when I got in there. And so I went from there to being a poker dealer at the Bay 101 Casino, which is still open today. And I worked for many, many years in my career, but that's kind of how it started, just through playing and dealing. And then in 1997, I developed carpal tunnel. I used to love poker dealing. And honestly, it's a funny thing that I might actually still be dealing if I didn't get this carpal tunnel.
Oh, wow.
I loved the deal, and I would work overtime anytime I could. And that was a good money job. You made a lot of cash, and it was good. People treated me well. I didn't usually have to call for the floor or anything like that, but because I did get that carpal tunnel, I ended up going on the floor and becoming a floorman, a lead foreman. And then when the guy that was running the tournaments went on vacation, I actually took the job as assistant tournament director, and I loved it. I loved being a part of that. And when that happened, I got hired to be the tournament director at Lucky Chances Casino, also in Northern California. And when I was doing that, I was also playing a lot of tournaments around the Bay Area. And because I was playing those tournaments, I noticed that the rules were different everywhere I went. So in 2001, I went to the World Series of Poker, the first time I'd ever stopped in to the World Series or Binion's Casino. And I asked the tournament director there, his name was Bob Thompson, that could we get a standard set of rules? I think it was important. They kind of, blew me off and said it's not possible. And luckily, I was already friends with Linda Johnson and Jan Fisher. And because of that, the backside of that, putting it on their WPIC, which is the World Poker Industry Conference that they were running, we started the Tournament Directors Association. That's kind of how it really started for me. When we started that, and we came up with the idea to put the rules into place and make them standard, that's kind of really how I got my start in this industry.
Wow, that's wild to me. That is wild to me that
what a journey.
That there was a time that it was just accepted that everyone could have their own rules, and that was just fine. That's one of the things that drives me crazy when I see signs on walls that say something about house rules and they're not specifically listed. Just it drives me nuts.
Just pick them up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the fact that people thought they could run these national or worldwide tours or series and not have standardized rules? What? How? Wow, that's insane.
Yeah, for all the chip runners listening, man, listen to that journey. You can go from chip runner to like one of the best tournament directors in the world, right? In
Yeah, I
10,
mean,
15 years. It's amazing.
I hate to
Wow.
hear about the injury, but I am for one pretty thankful that you developed
Yes,
that
we're all
dealing
thankful.
injury.
Yes, yes.
So how did you end up in LA then from there?
So it was in the early 2000s. It was kind of the start of the World Poker Tour. I've been with them since season one, and in some respect, we actually had a WPT event at the Lucky Chances Casino in season one. It was the smallest venue ever host a WPT, I believe, still to this date. It was like we had the final table in literally a closet. But at that time, a lot of people were following the WPT. We were going around and seeing the different venues that they were holding it at. And one of those venues was the Commerce. And I was friends with Antonio Esfandiari. So I had gone down there. I had met a lot of the people there. I was running tournaments at the time. So I became friendly with Sherry Doken, who was there before you guys played for the first time there. And, I had talked to the management there, and we had discussed me coming and being a part of, one of their tournaments at some point. Well, when Sherry decided that she was going to retire, they hired me in 2009 to be the tournament director. And at the time, I was actually running the tournament in Aruba for the World Poker Tour.
Okay.
And they contacted me, and I remember where I was at exactly. I was on my way to the hotel when they said, we'd like you to come work for us at the Commerce. And Tim Guston and Jeff Harris, who's still there today, and of course, John Griffo, kind of got me my start at the Commerce. And, to have the opportunity to be a part of the biggest, regular casino in the world and, be a part of that event was great, because the LA Poker Classic, as you know, holds a huge part of the poker history. It's been around for 30 years now. So, it was a great opportunity, and I was excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, wow. So you were already a tournament director for WPT, running events kind of around the world for them at that point.
Not exactly. I was still working at the time for, and in the early 2000s, I was working at Lucky Chances. Out of the Tournament Directors Association, I got invited to run the World Series of Poker in 2002, 3, and 4. And, through that, I became friends with Steve Lipscomb and Adam Pliska, who's still with the World Poker Tour today. And, I kind of traveled around and hosted some of those events. I went down to Costa Rica. I became the tournament director for Aruba. I did the first tournament ever in Macau. And, the World Poker Tour, really kind of was a place I wanted to be. I know that they did things so professionally and, made it really exciting for the players. And it was an actual tour. Wow. So something that I wanted to be a part of. And luckily, they invited me to be the tour director in 2010 as well.
Yeah.
And how big was the LAPC when you first landed at the Commerce in LA? Did it even exist, or was that something that you came up with?
No, it was around. It's been around for 30 years. So when I started there, it already had been, I think, 18 years or something like that, or 16 years. But it was a little different then. Even back then, limit poker was massive. They had a $1,500 buy-in with re-entry, not with rebuys, with rebuys that had $1 million guarantee. So limit poker was massive there. Yeah. Limit poker was huge in LA at the time, back when they were still playing Pan and Lowball and all those other games as well that have kind of gone away since then. But yeah, it was really kind of a huge place to go in there. They had a massive satellite program. They had, as you know, all of the cash games that they have at the Commerce. And, it really was, for that time during the LA Poker Classic, where everybody in poker needed to be.
Yeah. It seemed like LAPC also grew a lot, under your tenure, right? And it felt like poker in general got bigger in LA. So do you feel like you personally impacted growth, in Los Angeles for the poker industry as a whole?
I would like to think so. I think that a lot of things and the influence that I had in that area was, it was a great time to be in poker. It was kind of like a lot of people say it was can't miss, right? That it was growing so much, but I would like to think that I had something to do with that because some of the innovations and things that I brought to the game, and the Commerce Casino was very, very generous in letting me be a part of being innovative. They allowed me to run tournaments that had never been run before or heard of. Like an Ironman tournament. Remember, I did it all in a fold. We did an escalator e-tournament, and that was really where reentry started too. So. Love it or hate it, that's where reentry started for the world of poker, was at the LA Poker Classic.
Yeah.
And the reason why we did it literally was not to, as many poker players think, bleed dry the economy through tournament poker. The goal was, for me at that time, there was no reentry on the same flight. So the way I did it was you had to come back the next day to enter the same tournament. So for a 335 buy-in, we had $1 million guarantee. And the last day, we had 1,719 unique entries that came into that tournament.
Wow, that's
which
insane.
We put on 110 tables. And listen to this. We started with 3,000 in tournament chips. Nobody complained. Everybody thought it was great.
Average.
I wish that we could have better structures and fewer chips. Now, let me ask you this: of those 1,700 players, how many of them were SoCal locals? Do you estimate, and how many of them maybe traveled in for it?
Well, look, it was a 335 buy-in, so there wasn't a lot of people, and it was early in the festival, so there literally was LA poker players.
Wow!
So we had everybody, actors and everywhere from throughout, LA was coming to play that event. First time players, and it was just something new, and nobody had ever heard of $1 million guarantee for such a small
That's amazing
at that time, and I was really proud of that. I mean, I think the total prize pool ended up being like 1.7 million for a no same flight reentry 335
entry, 1,700 local unique players. So
we would need like unlimited.
Exactly, just for one flight. Wow. So
we would need like unlimited rebuys and like 5 starting days to hit $1 million. 300.
So what stood out to me though is you said people would say, oh, it was a can't miss time, right? It was going to grow no matter what. Well, Derek and I, and Derek's been looking at numbers all around the country, and we've been seeing it, right? This feels like a can't miss time as well, almost, with the big, huge numbers that I expect you guys to get up at Thunder Valley next week, right? Next week, Thunder Valley starts at WPT. For the big, huge numbers, all these Middle America places are getting. We feel like it's a can't miss time, so why is LA missing, right? What are we doing differently than before? What is wrong? As we've been kind of talking about the last few weeks. What are we doing wrong? How do we get 1,700 unique players to come back out on a Saturday to play a tournament?
That's a good question. I just think that it's a lot more localized now. It used to be that if you were going to play an event, you had to go to LA. You had to go to the LA Poker Classic. Now. Right. With all the poker going off in, the middle of the country, as you said, Florida, the Northeast, Texas now, people don't need to travel as much as they used to. And, while the poker base in LA is so massive, a lot of those people decide to go to Northern California, to a Lucky Chances, or to Las Vegas to play, at the Wynn or the Aria, or some of these events that are going on over here, because it's only a 4-hour trip. So they'll fly over here, or they'll drive into Vegas and come and play those events. So I think we need to bring back some of the prestige to LA. I would love to see it, go back off again. Like I said many times, even though I was there for 12 years, and how the LA poker players can be sometimes, I miss a lot of people. I made a lot of friends, lifelong friends while I was in LA, and I miss that. I miss being a part of that and the grind of being there. As you guys are grinders at the poker table, I was a grinder as a tournament director. I would go to work at noon and be there until 2 or 3 in the morning, and then sometimes in the morning go play a round of golf, and then come back and do the same thing all over again. And I loved it. I mean, I wouldn't trade that time for anything. Even though I had family and I was lucky enough to have them come out there every week, or if it was an off time during the year, my son would come out and hang out, and my daughter at the time would come out and hang out. They would go and enjoy Los Angeles, and there's so many things to do in LA. There's so much happening outside of even the poker world. So I think maybe that some of that interest has waned in that area, but I do also think that poker in LA has a massive place in the industry, and I would hate to see that die off, as you say.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we saw the World Series, like the bigger no limit events probably grew by 20 or 30% since 2019. Over in Florida, Seminole Hard Rock, Maine went like 65% growth, right, since
Right?
2019. It's ridiculous. And we're flatlining, right? So it's an interesting point that you're making is that maybe people just don't feel like they want to travel anymore, but some of these places are still destinations. People come from all over the place to go to that Florida tournament, right? So LA being such a huge base, it being itself like a travel destination, we're definitely doing something wrong, right? When we basically like lost the lead where we were a travel destination, and it doesn't seem like we're that anymore at all.
Well, part of it is you noticed, there's a lot of, the casinos are in the business to make profit. And, it's as if we fought for many, many years in my career, we fought slot machines, trying to, find a space for the poker to do it. Because as you know, a slot machine makes it just as much as a poker table. So a lot of people, that were in upper management see those numbers and they say, we're not going to, make changes to our casino to accommodate poker players because those slot machines never complain. Those slot machines never, say that I need a 250, 500 level. Those slot machines never break. They seem to always be working. Right. And if not, there's one right next to it that is working. So, I think that when you have that, and when you have things like what we call the California games, like the California blackjack. Yep. Pi Got Poker and all those things that make more money than poker, it kind of overtakes it in their mind is we need more of those tables and less poker tables.
Yeah.
Which is really sad and unfortunate because, to make that thing make more sense, you have to charge more rate and you have to do other things and promotions to try and get those poker players back. And I really, really wish that, some of the management in LA would see that and, try and make a real concerted effort to bring poker back to what it was. Because I'm telling you, in this glory day, there was nothing like LA poker.
Yeah, I know.
Right. I mean, like during LAPC, I mean, did you notice that there was like a humongous, I mean, the cash game tables would be completely full, right? Especially around the main event, especially at the higher limits. So I imagine that like, the hotel was up, all the food and concessions was up, right? Cash games were up. So there has to be like some data that shows that poker players actually do bring a lot more to the casino than just their buy-ins.
Yeah, exactly. And to that point, when these tournament directors come out to your TDA summit, which I hope they all do from LA, I really hope you can grab their ear and try and coach them a little bit on how to talk to management, because the things that you're saying, I really feel like there's a disconnect between them and the floor, because what we saw at LAPC, those table games, there was a week where they put 4 or 5 of those table games up in the ballroom, up in the LAPC ballroom. We walked in one Sunday. I walked in one Sunday for a day 2, and they had baccarat table and an ultimate Texas Hold'em table upstairs in the ballroom. I'm like, what the heck is going on up here? They dragged those tables. What is going on? It was insane.
Before your time, you don't even know this. They used to have cash game tables up in the ballroom.
See, now that makes more sense.
They would put all the 1-3 games and the 2-5 games in that ballroom, and we had full tables of those. And at that time, literally we were running 20, 30 satellites from the beginning of the day to the end of the day also.
Oh, I missed that.
I take a lot of credit for a lot of things that happened in there, but also re-entry, I think, kind of killed off some of that stuff, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because now instead of people going in there and playing a tournament and then going downstairs and playing cash, or going over and playing the satellites, or playing in the other events that we had, they're just firing more bullets. And, next thing you know, once you bust out, you're out the door.
I have this bad feeling that the management, because of these rebuys, they're starting to look at the poker tournaments and the series in a kind of a insulated way, where it's like, you have to be self-sufficient. We're going to look at the rake you take in and your profit, and we're going to look at the numbers, what you generated based on your rake only and your people and your numbers. But it has to be a more holistic look than that. And I feel like the casino, down at the Gardens, I talked with Cavin, and it seems like he somewhat has a relationship with his management to know that, because he was kind of, poking me. He's like, look, they know we're going to have, the reason that I want to have some of these bigger buy-in tournaments is because the bigger buy-in tournaments fill the cash tables. They fill the higher limit cash tables, and the lower ones don't. But same thing over at the Bike, right? So we just got new buyers, new management at the Bike. Park West bought the Bicycle Casino, and we personally think it's going much worse for poker now. We think they have a much lower priority in poker, and some of the things I've heard is that, like, I feel like they have a really short-sighted view of what these poker tournaments can do for them, because I heard that recently they had their day twos for some of these quantums, and we'll circle back to that at 5 p.m. They moved it to 5 p.m. on a weekday, and we couldn't. It was blowing our mind. This doesn't help anybody. And one of the things we heard was, well, they told the tournament guys that they needed to fill the hotel rooms, so they made the tournament later, so it would end later, so maybe people would get hotel rooms. And it's like, oh my goodness.
Oh wow.
That's not the right way to get the tournament. That's not the right way to sell rooms. If you do sell a room, that person's going to be so upset they'll never come back. You need to fill the rooms by, like you said, you have to make your tournament so prestigious that people travel here and they rent the room out the whole week, not just that one night where you made the tournament annoying. I mean, it just feels so short-sighted for these guys. So, I mean, you got to help these tournament directors talk to their management, because I don't know, we're going to keep banging the drum every week on this show, but I don't know how much we can do at this point,
Yeah, it's it's a different theory. Back in the day, like we used to run before I was at the LA Poker Classic. Sherry and their team used to run these events until 7, 8 in the morning.
Wow.
People would hit morning traffic. Can you imagine busting out of the tournament in 7th place and facing morning traffic after a bad beat? Brutal.
I guess.
And I think luckily I changed some of that. I didn't think that was the right thing to do, and I'm happy that I was able to make some of those changes, because it was unfair for the poker players. But you have those hotel rooms, you have restaurants, and I know that Commerce hardly has any restaurants anymore. But it was one of those things that it was a destination, and now it may not even be much of a destination anymore. It's kind of just like you want to be in and out, right? You're going there to play poker. You're hopefully make a final table, maybe win a tournament. But if you don't, you're out the door. And I would love to see, those people head downstairs, play the cash game, and see it like it used to be.
Yeah.
It used to be, I mean, we would see these young guys come in there with just bundles of cash.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Wow.
And, to be fair, there's a lot more regulations now that face the LA market that weren't around back then. You used to be able to walk in there with Bellagio chips and sit down in a cash game, and somebody would
wow, really?
for you and you really can't do that anymore. And you used to be able to play with cash and have cash on the table, and you can't do that anymore. And you didn't have that 7% back then. I know a lot of people don't know that is actually a big deal. The fact that if you come from Los Angeles and you win a tournament, you have to pay 7% to California state tax.
Yep.
They really, I guess saw an opportunity that, hey, we're not claiming any of this money from people that are out of the state. And it's unfortunate, but there's ways to get it back, and I always just tell people all that. So that shouldn't be the biggest detractor. But I do think that it's just things have changed. The whole industry has changed, and I do think that reentry has actually hurt some of that. So I'm not saying that everything we've done was perfect. And I would love to see less reentry in tournaments, a single bullet maybe reentry, so it's a little more fair for everybody. But at the same time, reentry is kind of what builds these big prize pools. So it's a difficult decision, and that cat's out of the bag. People see that there's big prize pools and want to be a part of them, and so they want these multi reentries. And as in LA, it's always a traffic thing. People didn't want to go there for an event that started at noon, bust out at 3 o'clock.
5 p.m.
On the way home.
Yep.
So they wanted a chance to reenter.
I mean, that's the only reason I play cash anymore, is to avoid traffic. So
yeah.
And now on the topic of reentry, badly structured reentry tournaments potentially killing poker, let's go all the way to the extreme. Derek and I have spent a lot of time the last few weeks talking about quantum tournaments, and we have the biggest quantum tournament that LA runs coming up this next couple weeks. In fact, kind of how you were talking about, LA players just go other places now to play. I almost never leave LA. I'm very lazy. I work all week. I don't want to leave LA, but I'm strongly considering making a trip to Vegas this weekend, because the Mega Millions, the Quantum at the bike starts tomorrow, which means that there are satellites. Day ones running for the next week and a half. So all weekend, nothing but satellites. Day ones for the Quantum coming. So we hate it. I don't like it. I'd love to hear your thoughts as someone who is constantly coming up with new ideas, trying new stuff, and has such experience and numbers hopefully to back up this reentry stuff. Like, how do you feel about quantums and what they do?
Well, first of all, you guys are an LA-based poker show, but I'm trying to get you guys more, national and more global. Let's go.
Thank you.
what the hell is a quantum? Tell everybody what a quantum is, because people
Oh,
out there
okay.
don't know.
I've done this spiel several times. Do you want me to do it, Derek, or do you want to do it?
Go ahead.
Okay.
You have it, Pat.
All right. So a quantum is so it's sold as this. It is sold as a way to get a huge prize pool for low entry buy-ins and having an entry point for all different player types. What it actually is a small festival of satellites into a larger tournament where you can buy in as a normal person. So basically, it's like if you were to take a regular 1100 tournament or maybe like a 3500 tournament, which is going to have a nice $1 million, $2 million guarantee. You should be able to do that with like a 2K or 1.5K. But what they do is they have that. So for instance, the Mega Millions has 2 days where you can buy in up to twice per time for $3,500. I mean, that sounds kind of normal. However, for the 2 weeks before it, they run what they call day ones. And they run these day ones at different price points. So they have in this instance, they have I think it's like a $560 and a $380 dollar entries. And depending on which one you enter, you start with fewer chips and a smaller percentage of the field gets through. And it feels like you're playing a day one. It feels like you're playing the day one of a multi-day tournament. But here's the catch. So let's say for this thing, I didn't look at the exact numbers, but let's say you start with 20,000 chips in the cheaper structure. And in that structure, 10% of the field gets through. Well, you can get through and you survive, but what happens is 2/3 of the people are going to have fewer than the average chip stack, which in this case would be 200K. Everyone that can buy into day 2 directly gets 200K just bam right off the bat. So 2/3 of the people that make it through those day ones they're gonna have minuscule stacks or less than average. Typically, what it looks like, there's a pretty large number of people who survive that day one and have just crumbs, right? Now, all of this isn't the worst. The real problem comes with all of these day ones. You get paid out the second you make the day 2 or you cash. And if you bag again, you get paid out a full kind of survivor level or satellite level amount. So you'll get paid out like that full 3,500, which means that comes straight out of the prize pool. So what it is a festival of satellites that pay out that satellite amount if you keep bagging. So in this case, so as a great example was the opening event. That was a quantum of 500K, and they had a flight where you bag 20% of the field with bag. It was advertised as a 500K, but before we even got to the day 2 where you could buy in for $1,600, $200,000 of the prize pool was already paid out to people who had been bagging and satelliting, which is, that money went to
so
somebody,
complex.
But it didn't go, like, that's not in the prize pool. If I come and I buy in or I bust and I rebuy in, that second buy-in, I don't have access to any of that prize pool that was advertised. That money's gone. And the only people who can get it are people who can grind every day in these satellites, So what you end up with is, I heard you during the Only Friends podcast earlier. You seem to have a pretty strong opinion on really not wanting people to become professional satellite players. And that's what you really end up with, is you end up with these people who don't understand how quantums work, bankrolling professional satellite players, and also people coming in and being misled by the guarantee. We had a quantum, last year. I think the guarantee was only like 250 or 300. And it actually, for day 2, if you bought directly in, the prize pool was only, it was like 20 or 30 grand under the guarantee, effectively.
Okay.
Right?
Wow. So I know Mo about the program.
I'm sure. Yep, I'm sure.
I've known for a long time, and I did know what a quantum was.
Yep.
I just wanted out there for people to understand what you were talking about. But I wasn't always a fan of those. I thought it was not always the greatest idea. He always was trying to get me to do them over at the Commerce, and it was a way for, he did invent them, so he was taking some money for doing that.
Right.
Anytime they run a quantum, he would make some of that money.
Yeah.
So I understand his need and want to do that as well. And my fear was always that when all the locals put all this money into the prize pool, then the big name pro players would come in and take that money out. Maybe they traveled in for it. And even a guy like Ari Engel, who you should have on your show sometime.
Oh yeah, yep.
Amazing. He's amazing, but he.
I have a commitment already.
Oh, do you?
Yep,
okay,
yep.
Great.
He said he'd be
well,
on.
He will. Awesome. He will tell you that even though it's good for him, he doesn't like them either.
Yep. His picture's on the wall.
He knows. Yeah, he knows that it's good value for him, and it makes sense that he can be a part of that and take advantage of some of those players. And to me, I love satellites. satellites are what poker is about to me. But to me, this just doesn't really ring true as a satellite. And I don't love that satellite players become professional satellite players, as I said before, because I think that a lot of times I'm trying to get that player that's trying to live the dream and maybe get his way into the tournament for the smallest kind of buy-in. Maybe satellite into a satellite and then do it. We used to do those for years. For the 10,000, we would do $125 buy-in or $120 buy-in, where you win $1,000
right?
seat,
Yep.
and then you win the $10,000 seat. And quantums are just a little bit different. I think that while you have those big buy-in tournaments, and if you have a great structure like we did for the LA Poker Classic for so many years, that maybe pros are going to get there more often. But we did see players that over the years, many times, that won that tournament, that won their way through a satellite. I look at guys like Paul Clan, who won his seat from a satellite and, was an unknown player from Canada, came down to the LA Poker Classic and turned that in there. We had Sean, Sean won his seat through a satellite when he won the LA Poker Classic. And I think that,
no kidding.
yeah, it's great. I just think that that's the way to build these big prize pools, is through satellite and small things. But I just don't think the quantum really rings true of what we're looking
I like
at.
the way that you describe satellites as like shot taking. Let people shot take and like go for glory. Where like the quantums have completely bastardized that idea, where it's just like paying people to constantly play over and over again, and you're just like it's like a huge feeder into day two that people can directly buy into. Where like all this prize pool money's been taken out. It's super complicated. It was obviously the biggest prize pools that we could get during COVID, but now I think if you just guaranteed something similar and had a normal tournament, you would probably get the same numbers without all that craziness.
Yeah.
And I do think that for many years, players would come to me and say, you have to tell them to stop running these quantums. And then I'd say, well, where are you going? Oh, I'm going to play the quantum.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So sometimes you got to speak with your feet.
Yeah,
if you don't really like it.
Yeah.
But again, I see your point too. You guys have a big tournament in town on the weekend with a big guarantee and a lot of prize pool. So it's a tough situation. There's no choice. You got to go play it.
No, my opinion on the quantums is that if you understand all the intricacies and you know what's happening, that's fine. But, to Derek said this many times, it's so complicated. No rec, no casual players can have any idea what's going on. And it really, and I think that quantums punish the player you're describing the most, the one who wants to just satellite in cheaply to a big tournament with a huge guarantee and have a chance at winning. It punishes them the worst, because in my mind, the people that the quantums reward are the excuse my poker French, but the misregs who sit there and grind the satellites all day long, every day of the week. Freaking somebody, I don't know the guy, but he managed to bag 8 times over the course of 1 week.
Somebody bagged 8 times
in the last one. It was insane. Like there were only like 7 days you could play, and he bagged like 8 times. So like it rewards those misregs who just sit there and they're grinding all day long, and it rewards the pros who can come in and could fire maximum bullets. You come in and fire all the day 2 bullets. I can, I almost prefer to fire day 2 now, but I understand where the money's coming from, right? Where the prize pool is, and if you just buy in for an average stack, you blast off to get a big one, then you rebuy, and then you play. You're great. Whereas, like I said, if you just take one shot, your plan was to satellite in once, survive through day 1. You're 2/3 of the time. All the quantums I've looked at, all the sheets, it's pretty consistent. About 2/3 of the players have less than average. Why would you ever want to do that? You just play a regular satellite, have an average stack at worst, but even so. And then the other thing is it's even better for pros, because the majority of the players would have big stacks. Like if, say there's like 5 amazingly huge stacks, well, 4 of those guys got there through dumb luck and they just can't fold, or they just take too many risks and they came out on top. Like that's amazing for pros. I know I'm not even like, I'm not a traveling pro, but when I have a really big stack at my table and I don't know their name, I love it. I'm not scared of that at all. I think that's amazing, because I know they probably just love to put a lot of chips in, So
and
it just really punishes those guys.
We got Sean Yu in chat saying, yes, Matt LA needs WPT back and Commerce needs you back. So yeah, we would all love to have you back at the Commerce.
Yeah.
Sean effing you. That's what I always call him. That's my guy.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier, I saw it on Twitter, you said it again on OnlyFriends again, you said you love LA players and you miss LA players. Are there any in particular you want to shout out to? Maybe they're watching, or any stories in particular that stick out to your mind that are kind of just so LA to you, right? Just like
Wow.
this could only happen in LA, or like, oh, that one time, so and so did something. I know you mentioned Salzburg over on OnlyFriends. Obviously, Sean. He's been around forever. These kind of guys.
Yeah, I miss so many players, and my miserable mixed game players. Those guys who would come in and play. I miss them too. I just think that all those guys, James Woods, I'd see 5 days
Yeah.
a week would come in and play these poker tournaments, and the whole crew. The geez, Ron Chip and Gina Hecht, who's an actress. She would come in and play, and Beth, and all these people that I got to meet over Patrick Starr
Yeah.
plays in these
Yeah.
tournaments.
Yep.
You know,
He
can
just
you
cashed out
imagine
on
Patrick
recent.
Starr? I mean, yeah, Bill
Yep.
Faberbucky, and just to see all of these players that I would see every single day. Even Mike Eskandari. These guys. We'd come up and we would joke and we'd have a good time and talk stories, and they would tell me their bad beats, and I listened to every single one of them. People, I didn't tell them to go away. A lot of these tournament directors say, "Go away, I don't want to hear it." I listened to every single one of them. I didn't really listen, but I would let them vent and tell me the stories, and even the crazy players like Frankie, Odell and
Yeah.
Armenia Express, and
Oh
all these guys.
yeah.
Yeah. All
I
these
haven't
guys
seen
still
Armenian
there.
Express in a while. Yeah.
That we see over and over and over again. I just would love to be part of that action again, because, like I said, it was a grind for me to work all of those hours, but at the same time, it was a sacrifice, to my family. I'm not gonna lie. I don't really love the fact that I wasn't able to spend as much time with my son as I was today, sitting at the DMV for 8 hours. But it's it was still a great time in my life. I wouldn't trade it for anything, because like I said, I got to meet so many people that I still consider friends today, and I still play golf with those guys, with Turbo and Craig Chait and all of those guys, and they've still been around, and I see them whenever they come to the Win when we have the World Championship for the World Poker Tour, and it's always great to see those guys, and it's always great to see you guys too, because like this show right here, I'm telling you, my friend that runs the room in Florida is the one that told me about this. William Mason,
No.
give him a shout
Oh,
out
awesome.
today. He said he loves you guys. He wants you to come out and be a part of their event in Florida. I'm like, hey, if you send them a ticket in a hotel room, they're there.
We're
They'll be
there.
there
We're there.
for sure.
Yeah, we
But
ain't
yeah, you
proud,
take
man.
the LA Poker Roundup on the road, and they would love to be a part of it. And I'm just saying that he's just not the same as he used to be, and I miss that. And I know you guys miss it too, even
Yep.
though you're new, relatively to what had been going on in LA poker. I know you guys miss it too, so
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
bring it back.
Yep. We're new to the tournament scene around here. Derek's an older. He's been grinding the cash room a little longer, but not. We were coming up when these guys you were mentioning were at their game, right? So definitely looking towards the future, and kind of speaking of the future, right? So I am most familiar with your lineage here, right? So when I started the first LAPC I played, DJ was at the helm, and I sat at a table with Justin Hammer when I was playing there before he took a job. I think he went to Texas first or something.
Yes, he went to Texas.
So that's can you tell us a little bit about, was that a plan? Did you take these guys under your wing? Like, did you come to Commerce with the plan, I'm going to train some great tournament directors, or did it just kind of happen? And do you have anyone working under you now? Who's the next great tournament director we should be keeping our eye on?
Yeah, prior to you being there, my right-hand guy was a guy named Sam Quinto, who is now the general manager up at Bay 101 Casino.
He was
And
great.
honestly, I mean, it's tough to say now, but I've never worked with anybody better. He was a great balance for me. He didn't care about being out there and social media and doing all that stuff, all the things that I like to do, and promoting these events. But he was the guy behind the scenes that was doing the spreadsheets and doing the structures and doing all of that stuff. So, I miss Sam for doing that. And, Justin Hammer was also there. We had a DJ there for many, many years. And, been a tutor for a lot of tournament directors. The guy that runs the Asian Poker Tour is Lloyd Fontillis. I work with Jordan Cutter. I still have a group chat where I talk to the guy that runs Best Bet, and Paul Campbell at the Aria, 2-time tournament director of the year from there, and Tony Burns, who was down in Florida. All these guys, we look to each other when we have an issue or something comes up, and it's kind of like, we support each other. And I think that in this industry, if you don't have that kind of support system, or the kind of people around you that make you look good, it doesn't always go as well as it has for me. And I appreciate that. I think that those guys have become what they have today in the industry, and I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the fact that I was there when they came in and were a part of these events, and hopefully they continue to have great careers as I have had.
Yeah, wow, that's incredible. I love to hear the network that you guys have, and I'm a little sad that you weren't able to name anybody out here in LA specifically in that group
I love
there.
Cavin literally, I used to tease Cavin all the time about his silliness and his, the way he takes pictures with people holding their arms in the air like that and stuff like that. I used to make fun of Cavin, but literally during COVID, we were shut down. We didn't know what we were going to do on the World Poker Tour. The World Poker Tour may not even have survived if it wasn't for Adam Pliska and Club WPT. And, we had a community that built of people from around the country and around the world that were playing Club WPT, and we were shut down. We had no idea what was going to happen. We don't know if we were going to have jobs coming back or whatever. And literally, I lost my job at Commerce during COVID. I lost my job at Bay 101 during COVID. I worked, a lot less at that time. And those jobs didn't come back. So, of course, it hit my bottom line pretty hard. But, to know that Club WPT really stepped up and built this community, and Cavin was a big part of that. So I really want to thank Cavin because he's still a part of that community, and people look up to him. And when we have our championship event where we send players to all these events, Cavin's a huge supporter in the Gardens, and some of the things that they've done there has been a really big help to the World Poker Tour. And so I have Cavin to thank for that. If it wasn't for him, that kind of stuff wouldn't happen. So yeah, shout out to Cavin, Bob Smith over at the Bike. I don't know if Bob is back working this series or not. But
I haven't seen him yet, but he does usually come back. Yeah.
Yep. And Mo's my friend. I'm friends with Mo, and I'm people in Hustler Casino Live, Ryan Feldman, and those guys have done a great job down there too. So, the industry's always changing, but at the same time, I like to have my fingers and hands and every separate part of the industry. So
yeah, I like to hear for sure.
We're all big fans of Cavin, and actually the whole chat is lining up, giving Cavin props. So he's really, really popular down here in LA.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, and we got Jesse Delgado saying hi. He apparently just chopped up 3 ways at the Bike, and we've got all sorts of people saying hi. So,
shout out to Jesse.
Oh shoot, you made me lose my my question there, Derek. I guess we'll have to go to the list.
Being, I guess, such an expert, right, on all things TD, being part of the TDA, right, and setting standards for everyone. What are some of your so going around all the different rooms that you kind of see and seeing other TDs kind of doing their thing? What are some of your top recommendations on how they can make their events and how they can make their rooms better?
Well, I really think that, being a part of the TDA, we have the TDA Summit coming up on June 29th and 30th. And out of the TDA Summit, not only have we standardized poker rules around the world, when I went to China recently in Japan, they have things on the wall that say we use Tournament Directors Association rules.
Awesome.
I love it.
It really, makes me proud to think that I started this whole organization. But at the same time, the smallest tournament directors or even poker dealers or even players and media are invited out to the Tournament Directors Association. If you have something, a recommendation or something you think that would make tournaments better, we'd love to hear it, because a lot of the things that we have in this industry have come from the TDA. And, a lot of the ideas that kind of came up, and things like Big Blind Ante, where it started at the Aria, but really became popularized out of the Commerce, because I did it and I ran my first ever tournament with Big Blind Ante, and the players are going, "What the hell is this? You can't do this. This is not the way we play poker." And the next thing you know, people at the Borgata were calling me. Tab was calling me, saying, "How did it work? How did it go?" Bill Mason down in Florida, "How did it go? How did it work?" But, Ben Irwin, Sam, all these guys from around the country said, "I'm going to try it," and it worked out better, and everybody seems to love it. And there are players out there that like Matt Waxman who says we need to go back to individual antes, and I tell him,
no.
Sorry,
Big
pal.
blind Andy is
Yeah.
one of the best things that's happened to tournament poker in like
Never
whatever
happened.
it
Maybe
is.
at the final table was the only part of that argument that I could sort of get behind. Not until you get to like the last 5 people at the final table, but until then,
Stop it.
yeah, not worth
No.
it. Okay.
I love having more in the pot. I think that
Yeah. No,
actually,
it makes poker more fun. Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
You have something to shoot for.
Yeah, and that's the problem with cash games these days. You mentioned that over there on Only Friends too, or Berkey did that. Cash games need to change more, and it's. Anyways, that's not our. We're tournament players though. We're tournament players. I remembered my question now. I remembered my question when you were talking about Cavin and Club WPT. I still see him posting about that on Twitter all the time. It's awesome. But we were very sad this year to see all the posters taken down, the cup taken away from the room there. As we've been commenting, Legends. Not a WPT last year. I doubt they're going to be WPT this year. Obviously, LAPC, not a WPT. What can you help us? What can we do? Is there any hope? Is there a light at the end of the tunnle here? Have you heard anything, Matt? Tell us. Have you heard anything?
Get in their ears at the Commerce and tell them how much they miss it. It's a sad reality. It's very strange because our company is based in Irvine, California, right? We would love to go just down there. Our production team is in the heart of LA. That's where we go back and bring all these tapes and all these things and create these shows, this magical shows on the World Poker Tour.
Okay.
So we would love it to be back in LA.
Here's an idea then. Is there any chance that the WPT could just rent a hall and just run the event themselves? Everybody here. You could find the dealers. Come on, just do it yourself.
Nice, but you do need.
I know
you need.
Life. Yeah, you need the gaming board. They just need to sponsor you, though, right? Does it have to? I don't know.
We've considered it in the past. I got to be honest. We have definitely considered it in the past. Running our own events, similar to what PokerStars does, right? PokerStars doesn't have casinos all the time. Sometimes they just rent halls and places in Europe where they do that, where they have these big events, and we've considered doing it on the World Poker Tour. And I'm telling you, it would be a massive.
It would be huge, right? Yeah.
We do have the best dealers. We have the best people that would love to come and work for us and be a part of it. And the players, I think the players support the World Poker Tour. So yeah, it's not a dead issue. It could happen, but look, these casinos are so big down there. They have these huge ballrooms. They have areas where we can film and. All of those things, and
two of them have studios. I guess Hustler doesn't run, but Commerce.
I don't know if the plan at Commerce is to live stream these final tables. I'm not sure what their plans are.
If it's not, it should be, right? I mean,
we would love to be back in LA, and we will be back in LA. I don't know, not probably on 2024, but we're always talking to people out there.
Okay, all right. Well, if you
casinos, good people, and you need to get there. You players need to go up there and say, bring the WPT.
We do. Trust every time we go to any place that's ever had one. That's the first thing. Every time a series gets announced, all the players are like, "Is it WPT? Where's the WPT?" When's they come back? Every time. Yeah. Well, hey. So
there's other tours out there, and there's other things and other.
Well, we want the biggest one, Matt. We want the best one.
They don't have the kind of support that the WPT provides. They don't have the kind of things that we can offer them. I don't believe. That's my bias, of course.
Of course.
But they don't give them support like others do. And, it's a traveling road show. We bring it in, and I think we do it big every time we do. So I would love to come back there. I think that, it's kind of like this, right? You had it for so long in 2 and 3 different casinos. Maybe we'll take 1 year off and then come back next year. It'll be bigger than ever.
So, we can only hope.
Maybe that's
we're praying.
What you're praying.
Yeah, we're praying because I would welcome those other series, Matt. But this is LA. We only want the biggest and the best. We want WPT. We want.
All right. Awesome.
So let's, as long as we're talking.
And speaking of which, so how do you actually keep a pulse with the poker community, right? So talking about us trying to reach management at the Commerce, telling them they should bring back the WPT. Like, how do you, as a tournament director, kind of stay in touch with the poker community?
Well, for me, it's mostly through social media. I have untold people that text me every day asking real questions and situations that come up through text, through Twitter, through Facebook, through all kinds of social media, and basically, I'm a 24/7 resource for these kind of people. And I think that over time, it's grown to be the respect. So through all those things, through the TDA, through GPI, and that award show where we see all those people, these people have all become friends in the industry. It's nice to be one of the leaders in the industry that actually offers to help other people for no pay. I'm not asking for any money. And, I do help competitors, even though don't tell the WPT that, I still help competitors when they have questions, and people that are working for different things. And, those guys have become my friends over time. And, so even things like payouts and structures and rules and all those things that I think make it better for the player. Because in the end, that's what I'm more about. I really want it to be better for the players. I want it to be more consistent for the players when they go from casino to casino, that the rules are the same. And, we talked about it today with Berkey, that payouts should become more standardized. Structures should become more standardized. And those are things that have always been on the fringes of the TDA because, people like to have a little creativity. Berkey likes to say that all these tournament directors are real arrogant and stuff like that. But, for me, I just take a lot of pride in what I've created and what I've innovated over the years.
Yeah.
And, I'm happy if people are following some of the things I've done. There's so many people that I see a structure out there in the middle of nowhere, and it's got, it had the 255 level or something like that. And I know I brought those into the World Series many, many years ago when they didn't exist. So I know that there's some influence that, I'm not getting credit for, nor do I want, but at the same time, I know that there's influence out there that I have had over this industry. And, I'm proud of it. So I think that, like I said, I'm a resource for anybody that needs help, and I'm out there just to make it better for the players.
Yeah, I really think
if your influence reaches like all these other areas and all these other places, it's growing poker everywhere, right? And that's just going to.
You should have seen it in Japan. When I went over there, I was talking about this morning as well. There's 500 poker clubs in Japan, and they play as serious as can be, and they're not playing for any money. Right. I really think Japan and China and India are such untapped markets that are going to make poker continue to grow for years to come. I'm excited about it. Even Latin America, Brazil and Argentina. And, when I was down in Uruguay, they have the passion for it. So and I love it.
It's a smaller market, but I saw that last year when we talked about it a little bit when I got back from my honeymoon from Korea. I saw poker clubs there doing the same thing as in Japan. They on the surface, they were playing for points. They were playing for qualifications to other tournaments. They weren't playing for money. And the crazy thing about Japan and Korea and those places is that they can't play for money legally, right? So they love it so much they're working within this law that doesn't allow gambling, right? It's crazy that it's so hopeful, so much hope there. And
I was in the casino in Jeju and Shinja World. I don't know where they're running the Triton event right now. Last year, I had people coming from Seoul to come and see me like 5 different times, and they would call me and I say, "Where are you coming? I'll come and talk to me." They're like, "I can't come in the casino." I'm like, "Oh, that's right." I had to go out into the lobby to meet them because they can't come into the casino. It's insane to me.
Yeah. But they love poker.
They love poker, and they want poker to become legal in Korea.
Yeah.
And when it does, it's going to boom. And we just announced we're going back to Macau today with the win in a partnership. So I'm excited about that as well.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people say that, hey, why aren't there more events, in the United States for the World Poker Tour? And I always say we are the World Poker Tour. So we're running events. I'm traveling. I'm going on the Voyage. I'm going on I'm going to Slovakia. I'm going to San Remo. Hopefully going to Macau. We're in Vietnam. We're in Cambodia. We're all over the world. Australia 2 times a year. So we are the World Poker Tour. So even though you may not see them in your backyard, the WPT is working very hard to help grow the game globally.
Yeah. Yep. And that's amazing because I think one of the things that really stands out about you that's really kept you at the top of everybody's lists as far as just being an all-time great is you really understand that the rising tide lifts all boats, right? Doesn't matter just because you're WPT now. Growing poker helps WPT, helps everyone, helping all the different tours, helping every room it's just the best for the overall health. It's the best for you. It's the best for it's not a selfish thing to do. In fact, helping everyone is more selfish than being selfish, right? And that it's not being short-sighted is that's one of the things that's really made all of your contributions last so long lasting and have such big impact. Now you mentioned that you're going to be taking all these trips around. You mentioned something about a cruise. You mentioned the WPT Voyage there. Let's talk about that, because man, I think I actually, I'm a little bummed. I just booked a cruise recently, my wife and I, but we heard about the Voyage a little too late for me to convince her about that one. So why don't you fill in everybody about the details on what this WPT Voyage is for the people who can still make last minute plans?
You got to go. It is last minute right now, but it's going to be amazing. The idea came from the fact that Adam Pliska made friends with Richard Branson, who, obviously is one of the most influential people in the world. He's been on his private island a couple times already.
Wow.
Celebrities and all of that. And basically, he said, why don't you run a tournament on one of my ships? And Adam goes, well, that sounds like a great idea. So now we have WPT at Sea, which basically is a poker room on the thing. And then, we had the idea, and, Warren Woodall and our team basically said, why don't we try and take over the entire ship? And there you go. It's 2,000 rooms. And we're like, well, this seems like a much bigger undertaking than we were probably expecting. But at the same time, we're excited about it because I think it's going to, raise the level of the World Poker Tour, as the WPT Championship has, and our great partnerships around the world have as well. And I think that, the fact that we're going to have this voyage on the March 31st to April 6th, you're going to see something you've never seen before, because, we're getting all of these players from around the world that are coming in and descending on Miami to hop on this ship, go out there, play cash games. We have tournaments. We have an $1,100 prime event. We have a WPT championship 5K that's going to put somebody's name on the Mike Sexton Champions Cup, the $10,000 event, and buy-ins from $100 all the way up. We have cash games, mixed games, and the most rake we're taking on any of those is just $5. So up to 10%.
That's insane.
The rake is super low, and it is a major undertaking, but, our team's up to the task, and we're excited about it. We have a pajama party meetup game. I'm running my own golf tournament on the Voyage in Grand Cayman. Vince Van Patten's going to be playing pickleball. Tony Dunn's going to be playing tennis. Lynn Gilmartin is going to be hosting her different things. I think she's going to the Stingray down in Grand Cayman. So it's a little different than what we normally do on the World Poker Tour, but I think we're up to the task.
That sounds like such a full schedule. How are you going to pack how do you manage to pack all that into a cruise? Like, how can I possibly do all that if I were to come? Are these things running around the clock? Do you have to give up sleep if you want to play all this stuff? How does this work? Like, mechanically.
There is no poker when we're in the stops. We do have a separate stop at Bimini where we're going to have a beach club and DJs. A pool party and all that stuff. But as soon as we get back and get out on international waters, the poker kicks off and it cranks up, and we're going to have, like I said, something for everybody. We're, having the difficulty is for these events is that you have to fit the structures into time when you're at sea. Yeah. So we only have a few hours the opening night to play poker, and the second night only a few hours to play poker. And because of that, we have to cram these prime events and the early flights into those and try and make it, good for everybody. We want obviously to have the best structures, but you need to know that, when you have only a set number of time to play, you have to try and make that work. And so we're excited about that. I'm excited about working very hard with the team to put that out there. Kirk McPhail and Warren Woodall have done amazing work, and it's not easy. I just tell you that it's not easy. And poker players are poker players. People have been texting me today and yesterday and saying, "Hey, I want to go on this. How do I go on this?" It's not like we haven't been advertising it for months and months and months.
We're very last minute about everything. Yeah.
So how?
I need a passport. Oh, I didn't know that. How do I get a passport? Or it's crazy.
So how do if somebody wanted to go, how do they book today?
It's very simple. You just go to WPTVoyage.com, check out the cabins that are available. I don't think that we have any of the high-end suites still available, but we have inside cabins and cabins with sea view still available. So you can go there, check it out. The Champions Club members got a great offer today for a discount on theirs if you're a Champions Club member. And of course, if you become a champion by winning that tournament online. There's other perks that go along with that. The VIP lounge at the Wynn. I'm going up to Thunder Valley this weekend. We have a Champions Club dinner where you get a steak dinner. So get your name on the cup, guy. Come on.
Nice. Yeah, and that link I believe should be in our description. Yeah. We're trying, but
I think that many people probably had no idea there was actually a Prime event and actually a Cup event. So that's a big thing. So anybody's listening right now,
with guarantees on them. There's guarantees. There's $1 million guarantee on the main event. There's a $500,000 guarantee on the Prime. So we're really putting it out there, and hopefully we hit it out of the park.
So how then? I heard a little bit before, but can you kind of describe how do I, if I'm gonna be playing this 5K, the 5K main, I'm playing all these 1500s, and I'm gonna play cash game. How do I get my money on there? How do I get my money out of this thing? Isn't that kind of weird?
The best part.
I have all this money on a ship.
This is the best part. You can use a credit card for a lot of those things. You can get up to $3,000 every day. You can buy into the main event on a credit card and build up those points.
Man, they won't even let me buy a car with a credit card. Jeez, that's crazy.
And we have a band that we put on your wrist, and you can just walk up to a poker table and scan it and say, "Give me 500." And they'll do that. It'll put a freeze on your credit card for $500. We'll bring it to your table at the end of the tournament. If you have won, you don't put anything on your credit card, but you just take the difference. You take the cash difference of what you won. There is going to be some cash on board that we can take off and do that. Or if you've lost, it just goes to your credit card. Then you have time to pay it off and get those points for it too. So there's multiple benefits. If you're an international player, you're going to have Lux and Pay you can use. You can wire money in there, and of course you can bring cash, but up to $10,000, so you don't have any issues with customs and all of that. But it's just like going to an international destination as you would travel anywhere in the world. You have to claim that 10,000. If you have more than 10,000, you have to claim that as well. But I think they've made it super easy. And if you see people that booked this voyage have told me, like, you get the app, they send you all this information, you make your dinner reservations, you do all those things, 20 restaurants on the ship,
wow.
24-hour gym. Like I said, all of those activities that we have going on, the pajama party, the Scarlet Night, it's going to be a great time.
Wow.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. So, I mean, basically, it's like just a charge to the ship, and you settle up at the end more or less, then, right? And it could be a positive for you. That's awesome. Wow.
Absolutely, everything is included except for alcohol, and people have just bought these things for $300 at the they have all of that. You can bring 2 bottles of wine even on this thing. But it's super easy, convenient. Once you get on the boat, it's a different world for poker players. And I'm hoping that they see this and say, I'm going to do this again. So I hope that we have another one, and this becomes a standard on the World Poker Tour.
Absolutely. No, that's definitely going to keep my eye out for it next year. Try and plan a little better and see. But I'm excited for it too. I hope it's a big success. I hope that you guys smash the guarantees. And, I have a question. If I'm playing the main event, though, and the final table, we get down, it's me and Derek playing the final table, refuse to budge an inch, and we start pulling into port. Is it a forced chop? What happens?
We'll probably make a little U-turn and go.
Okay, so you'll hit the brakes for us for a minute, right? Okay.
Hit the brakes for you, keep you out of international water, so we can get it done. And we're going to have shows on the boat, and poker players that are comedians are going to be there as well.
Oh, nice.
It's going to be really cool to see so many people that I know, and a lot of people that I haven't seen in a long time had told me that they're booking on there, and it's very rec heavy. Mm-hmm. Let's just be honest about that. A lot of poker pros have not made reservations yet, which is fine. I think it's going to be cool to see some new players at the final table and breathe some new life into that Mike Sexton Champions Cup.
Yeah,
Matt's telling you there's going to be soft fields for a prime and a main, so get out there.
All right, that's it. I'll change I'm going to book it. I'm going.
All right.
No.
Here.
Oh no, that's great. That's great. Definitely going to look into that for next year. So yeah. I hope everybody who, I know a couple people from the local scene who are going. In fact, buddy Mike Hamlin and another guy who was playing at the table the other day, they're both heading out there. A few other folks, and I've seen on social media, it looks like the WPT's been doing a pretty good job pulling in as many of the kind of content creators as they can. So I'm sure we're going to see a lot of really awesome videos and a lot of great content coming off the ship, whether it's during the time or after or whatever, but I'm sure we're going to get a lot of great coverage from it. So this is going to, this is going to be a great event, great marketing, great everything for the brand. Can't wait to see it next year because I can't go this year, but yep. So this is,
in chat, I just want to call out a couple of things in chat. Jesse said, Matt needs to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. You always have his back every time he goes out to any of the poker stops. So he wants to thank you very much for that.
Yep.
Thanks. Appreciate that.
Yep, absolutely.
8-time nominee, but not yet, but it's all right.
Okay. I agree. I think it was Negreanu who said it or something, but I agree. They should have a separate voting category where everyone's forced to vote for a non-player. There's just not, or they just need to up the number of people that can get in every year because, as he said, the bottleneck is just too tight.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. I've been fortunate in my career. I've got plenty of awards, the 5 GPI awards, and very important to me, WPT honors, which is our version of celebrating the people in the industry. So I'm proud of those things, and the inaugural member of the Benny Binions Managerial Poker Hall of Fame, which or whatever the heck they called it back in the day. It was kind of cool also. But, to be honest, the support that I get from the industry and the things that I hear and, the kudos I get and helping people that have gotten into this game and hearing from those guys that have been in the game now for 10 years, 15, 20 years and saying, you really took time with me all those years ago. That's just as important as all that stuff.
All right. So we are getting towards the end of our show, and one of the things we always do, usually we do at the beginning, but we do at this point is we quick run through all the winners from the past week and some of the bigger final tables. So, Matt, we've really, really loved having you on. I'd love to chat with you for a couple more hours, but you're probably running on fumes, having been up since 3:30 or whatever for the DMV trip this morning. But you're totally if you want to stay on, we hope you do. Listen to some
I'll
of the.
Stay around. I want to hear some of these names.
Yeah, and there were a lot of mixed events at the bike this past week. I have a feeling you're gonna know them. I don't know if you have the stream up so you can see, but I will read off the names. All right, so let's let's do that. Let's go around LA and check out some of the results we were able to scrounge up for the week. So let's start over at the Gardens with their daily tournaments. Now I got to talk to Cavin and make sure that someone over there posts every one, but he only posts some of the weekend ones. So Michael Rogers over there chopped up the top spot for the 20K guarantee on, I believe this was their Friday one. This was March 8th. So congratulations to Michael Rogers. After that, we have...
Good job, buddy.
Yep. After that, we have all the results from the bike last week. So let's start with the big one, the big opening quantum. The opening quantum was chopped top 2 from a one fella, Rafi. I'm not going to try that one. Rafi Tatizian, a name we've said many times on here recently. I'm guessing this guy. I don't think I played with him very often, but he must be a pretty.
I don't remember him either.
Yeah, he must be pretty good grinder because I've been saying his name a lot. And then a name I'm sure everyone in the scene knows. You probably remember this guy, Phuoc Nguyen, old Paul.
Okay. Paul.
Yeah, I want Paul Nguyen.
He's from San Jose.
Oh yeah.
Except from San Jose. He comes down there for those events and was a mainstay at the LA Poker Classic. So
yeah,
way to go, Paul.
Mega grinder around here. And then in third place, a name we've been honestly this whole final table was really good. All the regular names we've been saying a lot. So third we had Rudy Cervantes. Down here. Rudy. Fifth we had Tony Denove. One of our bracelet winners here. Fourth David Singantico, 6th, Felix Cisneros, 7th, Anthony Patessa, 8th, Jesus Juarez, and 9th was Omar Bravo. So congrats to the final table of the big quantum there.
Yeah, that was a lot of pretty good players at that table, by the way. Just up and down across the board. To get really good players like that at a quantum final table is usually pretty rare, so that's impressive. Good job, guys.
Yep. So Matt, to your point, the pros haven't been driving in from Vegas as much to take these things down, but when we read these quantum top results, it's constantly the folks we would consider some of the top tier locals, so they're always getting up there to kind of to our point of the edges. All right, so after that they had a mega stack. This had 44 entries. The event number 7, the winner of that was Pedro Rincon. Congratulations to Pedro. Event number 8, the triple draw event. This drew 34 players. The winner was Corey Simeon. Second was Ryan Coe. Third, Albert Shim. Event number 9 was a PLO event. This had 56 entries. Winner of that was Jan Linkovsky. Second, Jonathan Will. Third, John Abodante. Fourth, Robert Hart. Let's see here.
I don't know any mixed game players, so we're sorry, guys, but good job.
we know a couple, but you know why we haven't been knowing the names? Because they're all at the Win. I think Kathy was up at the Win final tabling everything recently, right? We were reading her name. Adam's up there. That's why all the mixed game players we know are up at the Win. So then they had a super stack. 231 players. I believe this must have been Friday. So the winner of this was Fanyo Bu. Second, Michael Reyes. Third, Jose Ascal. And fourth, Merhad Motalebi. This is always the hardest part of every show, Matt, by the way. I'm terrible at this. I am terrible
I
at this.
really struggled with the name.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Event number 11, the Rose event. Albert Shim. We just read his name in third and a different one a second ago. So
Good job, Albert.
Here we go. This guy, I don't know. When Katie's not around, he's going to win everything. Second, Loris Broda. Third, Marshall Ragir. This had 24 entries. So one thing I did kind of want to note is a lot of these mixed events at the bike showing during the week, entries have been kind of low. It looks like they're somewhere between 23 and the PLO one had 50, but all these other ones are hovering right around 25 to 30. I don't know if it's because of the Win or if it's just a weekday thing, but event number 12 was a super bounty. There's only 44 players in this guy. This was won by Sean An. Guangmin Li got second. Wissam Gashan got third. Myagmarusin Rock got fourth. So congrats to them.
They're giving you all the hard names.
Congratulations to Sean. You know, someone the other day at the one of the last LAPCs was just like, oh, you know everybody in the room, huh? And I'm like, I think I know maybe a quarter of them, but if I knew everyone, it sure would be a whole lot easier to do these. All right, so
you
this
guys keep doing the shows, you're going to be meeting a lot more people, which is cool.
Yeah, no, that's
Build
the
that
point.
community.
Yep, I've always been saying the whole reason I did this was to get Derek to take his headphones off.
Talk to people.
So as a throwback to what you were saying, Matt, about running these tournaments until 7 a.m. Now they had a little cheat because it was daylight savings, but this next event was run on Saturday night over daylight savings, and it ended after 5 a.m. So kind of a throwback there over at the bike. So congrats to all the Ironmen and the grinders and the staff, especially over there. So this was the 150K guaranteed one day. It was a 400 buy-in. They had 723 entries. The bike, they said that this was the largest one-day field they've had since COVID. So congrats to everybody. Way to go. Nice one. And as we said, people love these one days. I was there. So the top six chopped this up after 5 a.m. Want to give a shout out before we call out the winner to one of our every time listeners, Xander. He had a decent cash in here. It's hard to find because he's not listed as there. He is, Alexander Stone, 21st. Way to go, Xander. Now congratulations to the choppers. We had Ton Lei or Lee, Paul Chowderson. Everyone knows Paul.
Yeah. Mr. Paul.
Yep, as affectionately known as Drunk Paul. He made it to the end, 4 a.m. I'm sure he was. I'm sure he was well hydrated. Jonathan Bowers, a name we've been reading constantly lately. Way to go, Jonathan, in third. Jeremy,
he's been really just crushing a lot of these big events. So good job.
Yeah, he's having quite a month. Another familiar name here, Cedric Darrett in fifth of the Bad Beat Blockers brand. So congratulations,
nice,
Cedric.
Good job.
Yep.
Good job, man.
And then rounding out the chop was Nuet Dow in sixth. So way to go, you six. Nice job. A lot of familiar names in the caches here, but there were 90 caches, so I'm not going to go through them all.
Yeah, nice one day payday. Yep. 230K for one day.
Very nice. First prize was supposed to be 42 grand, so $400 buy-in, 42 grand's not bad there for a first prize.
Love it.
So this next one, the Monster Stack the next day on Sunday, this was 315 entries. So the winner of this one was James Hart, James Charles Hart with 2 T's. Second was Sarkis Zerdzian. Third, Pedro Escalona. And fourth, Joseph Plante. So congratulations to all of those fella. Now, Larry, Sarah, Floor Larry, Joe Vile, he got 8th. So way to go, Larry.
Yeah.
Sarah Bryan,
talented floor people playing poker players. He's very, very good.
Yep. Larry also. What's his YouTube channel name? He has a new name for his YouTube channel where he's in the
Spencer Winston.
Yes, Spencer Winston, also known as Spencer Winston. So all of the names, way to go, Larry. And as you mentioned before, old Mike Escandiari, he got 26th in this guy.
Oh,
good for Masood.
Yep. Masood got 26th. He is still at all the tournaments grinding away. He loves this game. I love it. Oh, here's some names we know. Maybe they came back from the win. Event 16, Heroes. First place, Shirley Rosario.
Oh,
Shirley.
Yeah,
there were 34 entries here. Guess who second place is? Frankie Odell.
There it is.
Wow.
All the rigs are back.
Here we go. This must have been the week they came back from the win. Third place, Abraham Laviga. Fourth place, Sean Yu. Congratulations, Sean.
Oh, nice. It wasn't enough that you swept the LAPC at the come start, crushing these two.
Yep. Sean won our player of the series over there at LAPC.
You got the gold Remington.
Silver, I think. Was it silver?
Remington.
Oh, was it silver?
I think it was silver, but
was
it
beautiful.
was amazing. Yeah. I was so jealous.
Actually, we have Spencer Winston in chat. We got Larry in chat. What's up,
Larry?
Larry?
There you go. Yeah, there's Spencer Winston. There it is. Yep. Congrats, Larry. Way to go. Nice grind. Nice work. So here you are, event 17. Like I said, there were a lot of events this week at the bike. Event 17. This was another bounty event, 50 entries. So congratulations to Freddie Anthony Henry Bogey. So Freddie Bogey got first place. Second place was Eric Nissan. I'm not trying third place. I'm sorry. I would try if you got. I'm sure there's a better. I'm gonna butcher it. I'm not even gonna try. All right. So congrats to Freddie for first place in that guy. And now events from yesterday. Yesterday's 250 deep stack. 58 players entered that. The winner was Apolinario Luis. Second place was David Chavez. Third place, David Hassett. And fourth place, Fanit Polavith. So congrats to all those guys. And then we have...
Where's Frank Lynn at? He's not playing?
Man, he almost won. Yeah, he almost won the player of the series as a Hold'em player. He almost got in the top 3, but maybe he's taking a break. I don't know, Frank. Where? Yeah, we haven't read your name in a bit.
What's the deal?
Frank is in chat though, and
he's gonna have to speak for himself because we're reading his name a lot over the LAPC.
I think he still owes me $20 for a last longer.
Oh boy, Frank, get out of the chat quick.
I'll give my Venmo.
Yeah, drop your Venmo in chat.
Yep. And now let's see. We had an EO event. So that was yesterday. There were 30 players in that. So first place was Charles Davidson. Second place was Joshua Thatcher. Third was Carlos Humberto Rodriguez. So congrats to all of you guys in that EO event. All right. That is all of the results that I have from last week at the bike. And then, that was a lot.
It was a mouthful.
It was. Congratulations to all the winners. Next week will be much easier because there won't be any winners. There will only be quantums because the roundup is now. It's time for the roundup. What's happening this weekend? Well, the bike only has quantum day ones. For the next week, nothing but quantum day ones for the Mega Millions. So that's what you have to look for. There's a 280 buy-in. That is at, what is it? That is at 2 p.m. every day, and there is a $560 buy-in at 11 and 4 p.m. every day. And Derek and I will go deeper into that next week when we have a little more time. Yeah. Some of the other folks online have found other things to complain about in the schedule, and we would love, not the schedule, but the way the structure is, and we would love to jump in on that too. And then
for all our reservations, about the quantum, obviously that's going to be the biggest tournament in town.
It's a $2 million
guarantee.
Yeah.
So even with all the reservations we have, that's probably the one to play.
Yep, absolutely.
To Matt's point, we do need to probably vote with our feet, but maybe the next one.
Right. Yeah. Even with 18, whatever.
Don't forget I'll be.
Oh yeah. If you want a good alternative and you can get there, go to Thunder Valley. I was tempted myself, but
are those ring events?
They're WPTs,
no,
right?
They're not. But they're WPT events. It's a part of the WPT festival. We're doing the WPT Deep Stack, which is 1,100 and 1 million guaranteed. And then on the tail end of that, I'm doing my first ever Savage Average event, which will be on the 17th.
That's right. That's right. Oh yeah, let's quick talk Savage Average.
So what is the Savage Average?
Yeah.
Basically, it's all these tournaments have the same format where they give you a lot of chips, a very deep play at the beginning, and then the structure goes like this. So it goes down, and by the time you reach the final table in a lot of these tournaments, it's pretty much a crapshoot. In this tournament, you start off with 50 big blinds, which is a little bit more shallow than you would normally be, but it maintains that 50 big blind average all the way till the final table. And for us to do that, we actually don't even have a clock. So you won't see a clock like you'd see in a normal tournament. The only way you have the blinds go up is to have players be eliminated. Let's say you had 100 entries in that, it's a 50,000 guarantee. We wouldn't raise the blinds until 17 players busted out of the tournament.
Nice. I'm getting a little echo. I think are you watching the live stream by chance? Does someone have the stream up and have audio going, or is... All right. Anyways,
I'm not going to comment. But
I think that's an amazing idea. I'm really, really looking forward to seeing what your feedback is from it. When I saw you post that on Twitter, my first impulse was, that's amazing. But what I actually liked about it, that you're not experimenting with just yet, I kind of like the idea that by setting the average stack, you get to manipulate exactly how the tournament's going to flow at different portions of the tournament. And I feel like that's something worth playing with in the future. But obviously, this is the first go of it. You got to see how it works at all the times. But, in my mind, I'm like, wow, if I need it to go a little faster at a spot, I can make the average smaller here. If I need it to be slower at another spot, I can make it a little, longer here. And I can manipulate that to precision. That's the part that kind of excited me. Now, obviously, that's a much more complicated thing to set up, but I'm looking forward to seeing it. My other gut reaction was 50 big blinds is way too many. It's going to be a 3-day tournament, but
there's some words that it's fun.
I think 40 is the right number, to be honest, for a 2-day tournament. Yeah. But you could do a 30, you could do a 20, you could do like a 1-day 25 or 1-day 20, and it worked just fine.
Yeah, because anything under like $600, Derek and I are thrilled whenever you still have like a 20 to 25 big blind average going towards the end.
Right.
Wow.
So if you set it to 30, we'd be like, this is amazing, because I think it's what is it, a $600? Your event?
Yeah, it's $600 tournament, 50,000 guaranteed.
Even if you set it to 30
all the way through the final, it's 50 all the way through the final table. Even heads up, you're going to make it 50.
Yeah, that's correct.
Wow.
Yeah. So much play, which is so exciting, but at the same time, it's going to take forever. So, I mean, I can't wait to see what happens. I can't wait to see what happens.
Yeah. Yep. We are going to be using a clock, so we're going to have clocks so that you won't have people just sitting there installing. And there's no reason to install. There's no clock. You can't go up in blinds, or you can't win the turn until you eliminate people. So that's cool.
All right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, this feels like a big blind Annie kind of thing, where all of a sudden we're going to see a average everywhere in about 6 months. So
I wish. That'd be so cool. I love these experimental ones.
I don't think it's for every tournament, but I do think there's a place for it in every festival.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
To get a savage average, to get a freeze out back in every festival, to get would be great.
We would love it.
Okay. I think that's all we have for all of you this week. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for coming and listening. And, I enjoyed hearing about Matt's history. I am so bummed that I started playing tournament poker late. I got here about 7 or 8 years ago. I don't know if that was in time, but if I just jumped in the tournament streets right away, I might have been able to live some of the glory days. That would have been nice. So,
well, hopefully we'll be back in LA and you'll be able to visit, or you can come out to the Win in December and check that out as well.
Definitely will be coming up.
Have you guys on the World Poker Tour, and if you guys have any questions for me, I can always be reached on X at Savage Poker, or through Instagram or Facebook or anything like that. I'm sure I'm friends with most of you at some point on one of those places. And great job, guys. I mean, the show's really something different. I think that this kind of show, it would be great for every market, and so you're doing a great job. And like I said, my buddy William Mason's the guy that kind of discovered you and turned me on to you guys.
Awesome.
So,
well,
he's in Florida and he has nothing to do with LA.
That's awesome.
So, the fact that you're getting players and people watching from around the country, I think it's making a big impact.
Yeah,
so
thanks.
Good job.
Great to hear. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you so much. All right, guys. Well, that's it for this week. And if I decide to go to Vegas, maybe this is 1 week. I won't see you at the tables. But for everyone playing in the Quantums and for playing in the dailies around town, have a great weekend. Good luck. And, maybe we'll see you at the tables.
We will see you at the tables. Thank you again, Matt.
You got it.